Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Psalm 42 begins like this. It says, "As the deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul pants for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God?" And so here, these sons of Korah were thirsting for God. Apparently, they had not been able to be a part of the worship procession that had taken place, as you see in verse 4, maybe in connection to some invasion that took place with the Arameans in that particular land where they had these different, where their inheritance was, as you cross-reference Joshua 21. But nonetheless, they're lamenting the fact that they hadn't been able to stand before God and present themselves before God, and they were thirsting for God. It says, "My soul thirsts for God. When shall I come and appear before God?" And this deep thirst, this deep longing, is something that I think is good for all of us to have. Whether we're able to join others in worship to God or not. It ought to be that when we come together as a congregation, as God's people, we ought to always have this thirst within us. And this could be the case even if we're not coming together as brothers and sisters in Christ. Even in our own personal lives, there ought to be this thirst for God, this deep down desire for the Lord, one that is so strong that it can be compared to a deer that pants for the water brooks. You can imagine a deer being out in the woods, and they don't have anything to drink, and just desiring that water, that fresh water to restore themselves. And the same thing could be true with us as we thirst for God. We just desire to be in the presence of God, to be near God, to drink in the goodness of God. When we have that desire, it helps us to walk in the awareness of His presence because it draws our hearts to Him. Now, someone may ask, well, how is it that we thirst for God? Well, it's very similar to thirsting for anything or hungering anything. It could be a result of the fact that we are hungry because we are empty within, or it could be because we focus on and direct our attention to the goodness of whatever it is we might thirst for or hunger for. For example, a person might not be thirsty until someone mentions a cold glass of water, or maybe they see a commercial of a Coca-Cola commercial where it just looks very inviting, and they want to drink. All of a sudden they become thirsty for a Coke or something like that. Or maybe you weren't hungry until you and your friends began to talk about a barbecue on the weekend and what type of food was going to be there. And then as you focused on and thought about how good that food was going to taste, all of a sudden you became hungry within for that food. And the same thing can be true with us and the Lord. It might be that we're thirsty for the same reasons that these sons of Korah were thirsty for the Lord. It might be that we've strayed away from the Lord, or maybe we haven't been able to worship corporately with other people, and so we long to worship God in that way. And that would definitely be a reason for thirsting for God. But it might be that we're walking in daily fellowship with the Lord, but we can increase our thirst for God and our hunger for the Lord because we're focusing on the Lord, because we're focusing on the goodness of God, the grace of God, the mercy of God, the love of God. And as we focus on just how good God is, it produces within us a thirst for God, a hunger for God, in which we begin to desire God and be drawn even more to God. And so we can take these verses as inspiration for us to always have a thirst for God, to always have a desire to draw nearer to the Lord, and even more nearer each and every day, drawing closer to Him as our hunger and our thirst for Him grows all the more, because we're focusing on and turning our attention to the goodness of God and everything that goes along with that. So today, as we do worship with brothers and sisters in Christ, let's do it with a hunger for God. And let's excite within us this hunger for God that comes from us focusing on the goodness of God and the love of God, the mercy of God, and all the other wonderful attributes of God, and conjure up within us this deep longing to be close to Him and to be drawn near Him in worship today. So these are some things we can think about as we read Psalm 42. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.